Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. So since the Orcs are about to get some love in the next Psychic Awakening book, which is of course Saga of the Beast, I thought I'd dedicate this video to all the wars that are currently going on in our galaxy. And as you can see from this image right now, I've made like a little high definition map. There is a lot of wars actually going on. So we're going to go a little bit in depth. We're going to be looking at each war itself, who's leading it, also the icons where apparently Ghazghkull is appearing. Those little triangles with the Orc symbol on it, the red triangles with the Orc symbol, is apparently where sightings of Ghazghkull has been spotted. So we're also going to try and theorize if Ghazghkull is basically meeting these other wars and trying to convince them, or brutally, making them join his war to make the greatest war that the Imperium or the galaxy has ever seen. So let's jump in and let's get started. Of course, all the major wars have been numbered, so let's start at number 1, which is of course WAAAGH And if that name sounds familiar, it should, because it was this war that took part in the Vigilus campaign. That campaign that seems so long ago. We had Calgar there, we had Abaddon, they had their little standoff, but of course, the Orcs were out in force and they were going around with their speed war. If you hearken your memory back to October, when it was Orktober, that's what it was officially called, this is when the Orcs got their new vehicle models, and of course some people liked them, some people didn't like them. I personally like them, I think they're pretty cool, but these were really the latest and only new Orc models that we got. The leader of this speed war, as I like to call it, is called Waraaagh. It actually says here, with so many Orcs on Vigilus constantly testing the defenses, and some information about this big boy. So it says, most revered of all the greatest of the big mechs on Vigilus is Waraaagh, master of the scrap city known as Fort Daka, and leader of the war that fell upon the planet in the first place. This speed lord supreme rules over dozens of speed mobs and battle wagon mobs. He cemented his position after an act of pure cunning that allowed Orcs to breach the fort walls that divided Vigilus, opening new racing routes across the planet and firmly installing him as the master of all he surveyed, even if he only surveyed it briefly in a blur as he sped past. Now, of course, with the whole Vigilus campaign, that actually came to kind of a standoff, mainly between the Imperium and the Chaos forces. There were other forces a part of that. Of course, the Orcs were one of the big forces. There were also Genestealer cults on there. There were also Fallen on there as well, and they had a whole dynamic story with the Dark Angels and stuff, for those of you who want to go and read it a bit more. But mostly, it just came to a standoff. So the Orcs are still with Waraaagh, and they are still speeding around Vigilus. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't really mention his demise or anything like that. So I still think he's still rampaging across Vigilus. He may be, around the system somewhat in the later types of lore, but that is just really theorizing. One of the big things about this is that Gaz hasn't been sighted among that side or within that war across the Great Rift, because that's another thing that really stands out about this war as well, is that it is on the other side of the Great Rift. So there's no sighting of Gaz here. That's probably down to, of course, that they really want to keep probably Gaz out of the whole Vigilus storyline. There's already two, massive characters there, Abaddon and Calgar. I actually would have loved Gaz to just get involved and just come and crump them both, to be completely fair, because I think that would have made the story a lot more fun. But as far as we know, Waraaagh is still speeding around, and that is basically where his story's at. I don't really see him getting that much involved in the next book, Saga of the Beast. I think he's just going to stay on Vigilus and doing what he's doing right now. And if we turn our heads to number 2, WAAAGH. Now this, do you know what? I should probably say whoa. I should really get into it. I'm sorry, it's a bit late here. I don't want to wake the kids up. So WAAAGH is probably one of the most successful wars, I personally think. One of the biggest wars, definitely, because it is actually breaking in to the Segmentum Solar. Actually, it's going through 3 segmentums. It's going through the Segmentum Pacificus, Segmentum Tempestus, and Segmentum Solar. Now, the big thing here is the Segmentum Solar. These chaps are too close to Terra for my liking. This is like Last War Protocol kind of stuff going on, what the Orcs are pushing here. Now, the person who's leading this is called WAAAGH. He's an Orc mech boy. He's the warlord of the WAAAGH, and the good thing about this is like the WAAAGH is compromised entirely of the speed freaks, the information I have here. So he rides a heavily modified war bike known as the Bike of Apocalypse. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. That is outfitted with a monstrously powerful shooter called the Daka Cannon that possesses the ability to destroy even a tank. So again, another chap that enjoys going fast. It looks like these Orcs really like to go fast and crump in that kind of fashion. Now, as I mentioned, the Segmentum Solar, and with the Orcs breaching into it, you can actually see it there. It's breaching to the northern of the Segmentum Solar, and you can see how close Terra and Mars is to the arm that's breaching through. Now, for me, this really calls for some concern, because I can definitely see the Custodes getting involved. Anything that comes close to the Segmentum Solar, the Custodes start sending out troops and agents and all that kind of stuff. Inquisition, definitely. Last Wall is something that I would personally call, again, bloody greenskins. But you probably have all the other crusading chapters like the Black Templars, all the other fleet-based chapters, the Imperial Navy, the Imperial Guard round here. Definitely, there is some key planets that it cuts across as well. Krieg is, of course, one of the massive planets. We all know what Krieg is, of Death Corps of Krieg. Everyone loves them. Talon is not really close to it. Necromunda is right on the border of it, and we do know that a Necromunda is a recruiting world for the Imperial Fist, so I can definitely see the Imperial Fist getting involved around here. Now, of course, with Saga of the Beast, it's all about the Space Wolves. Now, I don't really see the Space Wolves around here on this map at the moment. Of course, I'm sure GW will write them in somehow, but when it comes to your Fenris and stuff, they're a bit far out, but maybe, you know, they'll answer the call to come to the aid of maybe Terror or something, because this is the WAAAGH that is, again, I'll say it, it's really concerning if you're an Imperial player. Another thing about this is, of course, Ghazghkull has been sighted here. This is one of his markers. So I'm wondering what Ghazghkull is actually up to around this area. Is he trying to force WAAAGH to follow him, since Ghazghkull is kind of the Orc now? Or is he trying to pinch some of his speed boys to join his glorious WAAAGH and, you know, conquer in Gaz's name instead of WAAAGH's name? Hopefully, again, in Saga of the Beast, all this will be cleared up and I'll expand on it a little bit more, because I'd love to see the inner relationships of these Orc warlords and what they're actually doing during all these wars and Ghazghkull popping up here and there. Now, if we move on to number 3, and this is WAAAGH. Now, the information that we have about WAAAGH, or WAAAGH the Unstoppable as he's known, it says, WAAAGH the Unstoppable is a powerful Orc war boss and ally to the mighty Ghazghkull Mad Uruk Fracker. His massive warbang took part in the Third War for Armageddon and was directed against the Fire Waste. So, this chap is an ally to Ghazghkull. So, again, if we look at the actual map itself and the marker of a potential sighting of Gaz, then it makes sense for him to, you know, jump in and maybe have a little talk to WAAAGH to tell him of his future plans. Of course, if WAAAGH is an ally of Gaz, whatever Gaz says, I'm sure WAAAGH will follow and, you know, why in whatever direction he points to. Again, if we look at some of the actual planets around here, we've got Ryza, which is a big AdMech world, and of course Katajan, the Katajan Ghazghkull fighters, which are of course one of the best Imperial Guard regiments. Basically Rambo on steroids. They love fighting in these death worlds. They're basically, you know, nurtured on these bloody death worlds. A little bit of shout out to the Freebooter enclaves at the top, which again, Freebooters doing their good old pirate thing. And of course, Gaz has been sighted there. I don't know if he's potentially trying to inspire the Freebooters to join him and, you know, unleash a WAAAGH that's never been seen before. But there we go. That is number 3, WAAAGH's WAAAGH. I wish I had more information about him, but this is really all we've got. If it comes to Saga of the Beast with WAAAGH, I just see him falling in line, really, with Gaz and just following whatever order Gaz says, because he's already done that in the Third War of Armageddon, so I'm sure he would follow Gaz once more into the breach. One more thing I actually want to point out, there is Badab there as well. Badab holds a special place personally in my heart because of the Badab Wars and stuff with the Executioners and Astral Claws and what, you know, all the stuff that happened there. I won't spoil it, but it's a great story. So it looks like it's actually going to be caught between two wars, WAAAGH's WAAAGH and also another WAAAGH, which we'll get into very, very soon. So let's move on to number 4 now. And we're going back across the Great Rift to WAAAGH Nazdreg. Now, it says here, Nazdreg WAAAGH, hopefully, again, I'm pronouncing it right, is a large and cunning orc warlord of the Bad Moons clan. There we go, some yellow for you chaps. He is an overweight and greedy greenskin who is also extremely rich in teeth. It says, when his personal space hulk crash landed on the Imperial world of Medusa 5, Nazdreg played a major role in the fall of Medusa 5 campaign and managed to escape that doomed planet to trouble the Imperium again. So let's just look at his little section that he's got. I'm sure that's his other side of that as well, which has a very, very interesting planet, which is Baal. Now, why it's really, really interesting is that Baal has basically become the terror of the dark waste of the north, the Imperium Niflis, let's say, hopefully, again, I'm pronouncing that right. And basically, anyone who is part of the Imperium is now trying to get to Baal, because Baal is a safe haven. Baal is the homeworld of the noble sons of Sanguinius, the Blood Angels. Their ranks have been refreshed after the devastation of Baal. Guilliman turned up with a bunch of Primaris Marines and gave them all back, and it's basically like the center, it's like the Mecca now of the north, and everyone goes there for some safety. But as you can see, there is a little Ork WAAAGH gathering around it. I'm sure the sons of Sanguinius will be able to handle that and purge any orcs who dare try to step foot in the cluster of Baal or anything like that. Now, other planets to note, of course, is Valhalla. The Valhalla Ice Warriors are one of my favourite Imperial Guard regiments. Absolutely love them as well. You've also got something called the Storm of the Emperor's Wrath, which is kind of like a warp storm. Now, I think the lore is that it was like kind of off limits. Like the actually Emperor did something there. I think if I can remember right, we don't really know what. It's like one of these mysteries of actually 40k. Anyway, back to Nazdreg. Going off on the Emperor. I'm sorry. I'm so loyal. Back to Nazdreg. Of course, Nazdreg, there is a beast sighting of Ghazghkull around here. It's not really next to it, though. It's just a bit off to the left of it. So I'm wondering, did Gaz go to somewhere else? Or maybe, you know, did he go there and then go to that WAAAGH to try and get Nazdreg to join him and the Bad Moons, the entire Bad Moon clan to follow Ghazghkull as well. Who bloody knows? Hopefully, again, in Saga of the Beast, we'll get some of this bloody cleared up, because I do love some Bad Moons. The Bad Moons were actually attacking these Obsidian Jaguars in the latest short story dedicated to Saga of the Beast. So I'm wondering if Gaz was actually successful in recruiting them, because as I said, they were the Orc force that was sieging that chapter monastery. So it could be that he was indeed successful. Now, moving on to number 5, this is one of the most impressive WAAAGHs. Well, it is kind of a WAAAGH, it's kind of an empire all at the same time. You have WAAAGH Skullstomper all the way to the south. That is very, very big. Again, it joins on to this Arch Arsonist of Caridon. We'll get into that in a second. You've got Macragge here. You've got Rinswold around here. You've got Nocturne here. Yes, it is basically everything in the east is basically belonging to all the orcs around this sector. Now, the Arch Arsonist of Caridon is actually a title. It states here, the Arch Arsonist is a title of the current Orc Warlord of Caridon. Each successive ruler of Caridon takes the title and also adopts the persona of becoming a pyromaniac berserker, lending the Arch Arsonist a kind of immortality. The current Arch Arsonist is Snagrod, who launched WAAAGH Snagrod in the Loki sector in 989.m41. So again, I wonder if he is the current warlord of that clan. As far as I'm aware, there's been no other orcs after him. Again, that might change in the Beast Arises. Not the Beast Arises, sorry, that's a complete different series. Ignore that. That might change in Saga of the Beast. Of course, Ghazghkull has been spotted around here again. He's not really in like the middle of all this, what's going on. He's again on the outskirts. One thing that we have to really remember about this as well is that these are not confirmed sighting. These are just people thinking they've actually seen Ghaz around. And of course, Imperials and people who spot him could always be wrong. It just could be another big boy orc. So again, it's just theorizing if this is actually Ghaz himself appearing with this. But it would make sense to go here because look, just look at it. Look how big this Ork WAAAGH, or this orc empire, is growing. Ghaz wants these chaps on his side, and if they are like these pyromaniac berserkers, I'm sure that will lend a lot of credit to his force to unleash upon the enemies of his WAAAGHs. So yeah, he definitely go there and, you know, join me, you gits, or die. You know, that's basically big bad Ghaz at this stage. Now, if we move on to number 6, this is very, very interesting because we've actually got two orc forces that are actually going head into each other to see who's the strongest. Now, the Grand Warlord is something that I've researched, and the only thing I really came up with when it came to the Grand Warlord is that this is actually dedicated to someone who was a part of the White Dwarf team, or featured in the White Dwarf heavily between the 90s and the noughties. So it says here, the long-standing readers of White Dwarf, Adrian Wood, is known by another name, the Grand Warlord. A former member of the White Dwarf team himself, Adrian's huge orc armies were regular features in the magazine through the 90s and 2000s. His many battle reports are some of the most famed in the White Dwarf history. His sheer enthusiasm and typically orky antics as the Grand Warlord inspired thousands of other budding warlords, while also earning the begrudging respects of the Orcs' many forces. So it seems that maybe GW have named this little place after him. Again, that's the only thing I can really come up with that one. When it comes to WAAAGH, this is interesting as well. So Bork was it says Bork is an orc world in the eastern fringe bordering the Ghoul Stars, which of course it is. Another thing, these Ghoul Stars are like massively awesome when it comes to the lore. There's so much mystery around these. I absolutely love them. So it says about WAAAGH, it was once an unremarkable frontier industrial world known as Bjork Prime to the Imperial forces who controlled its light side and dark side in a constant struggle with orcs infesting the dark side. However, one orc known as Clawjaw managed to unite the orc faction of Bork and conquered the planet in a conflict known as the War of Bjork Prime. He continued his war against the Imperium, forming a great orc empire of Bork. So that is like a little empire of Bork all the way up there in the northern bits of the Ultima Segmentum. One thing about this is, again, I just mentioned it at the start, is that these two are going into each other. They're not going for any Imperial world. Well, of course, the Imperial worlds in a way are going to get smashed apart, but these two are going to each other to see who the biggest and the best is. And of course, Ghazghkull is not around here at all. Maybe he's just waiting for these chaps to smash each other in the head, see who's left, and then pop up there and go, "You all right, boys? Join me. Let's go war somewhere else. Let's conquer the puny humans and stuff like that." He's just probably waiting for the victor and the strongest orc to be a part of his big warband that is he's slowly building. And if we move on to number 7 and the last one, sadly, which is the Great Tyrant of Jagger. Now, Jagger has some similarities to Bork, as we just discussed. So Jagger was an orc world belonging to a group of freebooters known as the Star Crumpers. My holy emperor, I bloody love these chaps and their names. Jagger was an orc-held world known for its dangerous moon herds. Orc clans from the planet formed part of the War of Ghazghkull during the Second War of Armageddon. So they definitely did actually have contact with Ghaz, and they supported him during one of his campaigns on Armageddon. Not the third, but the second one, his first one. In M41, with the invasion of the Ultima Segmentum by High Fleet Behemoth, Jagger was among the early planets assaulted by the Tyranid swarms. The Orc pirates put up vicious resistance and gave the aliens their toughest fight to that point. However, in the end, the planet was consumed by the Tyranids, so they lost their planet. But of course, as you can see, the Great Tyrant of Jagger is still ongoing, and they are pushing out in all directions. And they are pushing out in all directions because it states here, at least 4 separate warlords now claim to be the Great Tyrant of Jagger. all leading their WAAAGHs in different directions to our great detriment. So it's definitely, there's no one in command there. Maybe that's why Gaz, again, he has so-called appeared there. There's a sighting of Gaz. Maybe he's trying to unite those ones who claim to be Warlord. Maybe Gaz has got to go there, crump them all, and he's got to be the great tyrant of Jagger, as well as all the bloody other titles that he probably has, you know, the big one, the Beast, everything, you know, Grot King, I don't bloody know, all these titles that he should have anyway. So that's it. This is done for the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've had a nice little look at some of the WAAAGHs going on. It shouldn't be too long now to get some more stuff on Saga of the Beast. I am super, absolutely excited to see what goes on with the lore. Hopefully they'll do some big things and make Gaz really stand out and make him this galaxy conquering beast which he deserves. Gaz is leading some of the most vicious and brutal fighters in the galaxy. Gaz himself is a cunning Ork. He's not your average Ork. He deserves to be put up there with, you know, the big characters in the galaxy. So hopefully he'll bloody get that justice. Right, that is enough for me. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. As always, if you've got any thoughts, feedback, anything like that, leave it below in the comment section. You Ork players, hopefully I've done you justice. If not, please, you know, fill in the wrongs that I've spoken about. I tried to do as much research on this as bloody possible. So thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Thoughts, feedback down in the comment section down below, and we'll chat down there. See you now, and bye-bye.